This picture is from the press release and invitation that we used for an exhibition called Flagging Our Freedom. And we did that here in 1989 during a very controversial time in American politics. So you had, I think, Bush the first was in the White House. And there were cases in the Supreme Court about flag burning, and the Supreme Court had affirmed the idea that you had the freedom to burn a flag as a symbol, and then the Republicans were not happy about that, and they were trying to pass an amendment in the Constitution to change the laws. And anyway, that was going on. There was an artist in Chicago called Dred Scott, who was an art student like you guys, and like we were, and he had done a piece where he laid the American flag on the ground with a book where you could write your feelings about the flag and pictures that he had on the wall. And the pictures were pictures that had two opposing views of how to respect the flag. So people were invited to write on it. That became a national scandal. And again, the politicians got involved and wanted to take school funding away and NEA funding. That motivated us, a group of us, that group here, to put together a show in 1989 called Flagging Our Freedom. And we have two people beside me who are in the show here tonight. Raise your hand, Ray. And then there's Lucy Rivetto right there, who is always just too cool, let me tell you. When we did that show, this was the old days where like you sent a press release out. It was a letter and you photocopied it and sent it all to all the agencies. And we sent out press releases with our very silly photo. And it got picked up by the local press and then eventually got picked up by the Associated Press. I love some of the comments that people wrote when they went to the exhibit. They could write in the book. And so it was liberty and justice for all in memory of Stephen. That's the piece we're looking at. That's by Lucy. It's hard to see in black and white, but that's her work. And underneath, we see the words thought-provoking, right? Worth the impact and the discourse. Now we go to the lower down the page and it says things like, this is not exactly what the Doctors of National Psychology ordered. That's great. Now this person is pro-it because his name is Joey Johnson. That's the guy who was in the Supreme Court case. So he came to see the show, which was really kind of interesting. That piece there is hard to see in black and white, but just to give you a kind of sense of description, these stripes, this is a long dowel, and each one of these is a roll of toilet paper that go down. It's red and white. And then up above, there's a painting of a butt, and then there's a swastika over it, and it's called Backdoor Invasion. That piece was called Genocide and the Flag Go Hand in Hand. A core group of us, this group that you see in this picture, decided we really liked making art with social commentary. And I think we were really excited by all the media attention and hype. And so we decided we were gonna collectively form a group and then make that our mission to do socially conscious art. Everybody in that picture is still making art today. And this was some of the local press we were getting, the bad boys of art. Revolution Brews at Jersey City State College. We were hardcore, man. We created our manifesto. We went on to take this and print this, like thousands and thousands of this, and we went around New York City and we just posted these bills everywhere. When I look at it now, I kind of smile and I think of how didactic it was, and I kind of a little embarrassed, but it's okay, that's who I was then at that moment. There was a rally going on in DC in the spring, and we had decided we were gonna do a performance art piece for that. And so as a George was the main sculptor, but collectively that was a big endeavor. So it took everybody's hands in there. George created this maquette. From the maquette, he eventually made a sculpture that was a little over 5 foot tall on a pedestal. It looked pretty impressive. This is called Helms of Willendorf. If you remember your art history, Venus of Willendorf, right? The fertility goddess. So this is kind of like taking some art history and contemporizing it and adding it to our thought at that time. Jesse Helms was a senator from, I think, Georgia. And he, North Carolina, and he was really anti people's rights. He was very pro-censorship, very anti-gay. He was just not a nice guy. He was one of the most vocal people against the arts in Washington at the time. So we decided to make him an effigy, and that's ceramic. And so in the inside, we symbolically put some menorah in there. And then we took it to DC, where we did a performance. It was called The Trial of Jesse Helms. And during that trial, we smashed it with sledgehammers. This begins our partnership, really, with the artist Ron English. And during that time, we started helping him do billboards. So the first time we went out, you see the billboards assigned Art Fucks in English. So we were working collaboratively with him. And so there you see that up in real space. And so we'd have to climb ladders and go up there with repaste and hope not to get arrested in the effort. This was during the first Gulf War, and this was on Houston and Broadway. I told you we were doing a lot of posters on the street. So this poster got posted all over New York City. Started altering signs. So what would normally say stop now says yes. What would normally say one way says join in. But this one August morning, we had this 46-foot long painting that we had made. And we had rehearsed ourselves to take and go to the street. This is Broadway, New York City, that's Wall Street. And then to tie this, chain it from here to here and stop traffic, which we did. And it was done at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. It was chaotic, it stopped traffic. And then eventually, New York City style, they're like, F you, and they just drove right through it. The purpose of this, we did it on Wall Street because we were looking at mindless omnipotence of billionaires. And it's the same thing. So these guys are walking around, they have their suits, they have their attaché, and they have no minds. The mindset is money, money, money. And it's funny because all these things are exactly the same, if not worse. This piece was done right around the Rodney King incident. There's a car door, there's a sculpture made out of plaster. So for those people who work three-dimensional, and then there's a gun barrel, which I think is made out of cardboard. It was a black painting of the American flag. So again, looking at art history, people like Ad Reinhardt, whose work was amazing because there were these shades of black where forms appeared. We did that, but we made the forms appear of the flag using the color black. So it was called Black Flag. And that was some of the content, again, many of the things still relevant.
If you really want me to go in depth in terms of what's on the actual, in terms of the imagery, it would be very difficult. It would be very difficult to tell you because the creation of art was very spontaneous and filled with emotion rather than a thought of some kind. So it's very emotion-based, and you realize that imagination is a beautiful thing because you can create things. Looking at the world and seeing the atrocities and injustices and trying to make some sort of awareness. And we're just moving along and not really being active about what's happening in our lives. I guess people would call it political because it spoke about the issues that we have as society and just as cultures throughout the world, but also it was anti-political in the sense that political systems tend to not to work out that well for the people. All the screaming and the yelling with the visual art might wake somebody up, but in the world, physical world, sometimes it's not enough for the changes to take place. So it's only a tool of communication, I guess, and connection with other people. The actual change takes from within and outside of us by taking action. In 1985, I was born in northeast of Russia in a small town. We only had first grade, one nurse. The town that I was born in was like a road maintenance town. I started getting into just creatively expressing myself at a very young age. My dad always had a workshop, a wood shop, and he would build everything around the house. So I already knew that you could create things with your hands, and obviously with their mind, because that's what controls your hands. It's going through this process of trying to figure out what my voice is for, exactly. And I thought about politics a lot, and I really hate politics in the sense that we don't really get to a solution. The main scene here is people with very little resources fighting people with very strong military power. This is me going crazy at Deep Space Gallery. If you guys are not familiar with Deep Space Gallery, is a gallery on 77 Constellations. It's a friend of mine's. They've been running this gallery. It's like the grassroots, Jersey City grassroots gallery. This one was a first of many. Decided to go with the color green, and it's a traveling show. The reason why I called it green screen was because I wanted to do it in different locations on planet Earth, because I recently also found out that Earth has chakra points. So I wanted to kind of move around and do different color shows. Jersey City got the totem. So I did the green screen, I did Go on Bananas, which was the yellow, which was one of my favorite colors. All my cutouts and all the stuff I collected over the time that had some sort of a meaning, and I just kind of got crazy at Deep Space and painted all the walls. And like I said, sometimes stuff just happened on the spot. And looking at it now, it looks like I was having a lot of fun.
When I was a student here, we had a great culture in terms of our administrators. Dr. Harris, who was our chair, was awesome. Ben was there. And they didn't tell us what to think, they just let us think. And I think that was really cool. But I learned when I was a student that there was an art association that had a charter that was sitting in a dust pile and nobody was using it. And I said, well, what is the art association? What does that do? Well, if you take that charter and you get signatures, you go to student government, they give you money. What? Free money? That's what I thought. So I went, I got this charter out of student government, I dusted it off, changed a few things on a computer, then had, I don't know, 100 signatures, whatever you had to get, gave it to student government, and they gave me $1,200 the first year. And the student government building at the time had a gallery. Now I can curate shows, I have a space, and I have money for food. You need food if you're going to have an opening. Very important. But anyway, so I was able to start curating shows. And I always hear actors say, well, if you want to get a good role, write your own role. Well, if you want to be in a show, curate your own show. Right? It's the same idea. Take control of your shit, do something. So I think for me, and Ben always said, you have to be ready. Ben, you would always tell us, you have to be ready for whatever the next opportunity is, you have to be ready. So that means you got to start doing stuff and do it for you. Ask yourself what you want. How hard are you willing to work for it? You don't have to want anything, but if you want it, you got to chase it. But I was real grateful that there was a student government that it was like a fake a fake society, you know, that I could learn and grow in and figure out, get this paperwork, do this, do that. And look, artists apply for grants every day. I was just doing that in college from the student government. It was kind of the same thing. So one of the things I would say, as much as you could, you know, get active in the school, and it sounds like you were curating shows when you were here too, so it's the same thing.
First time in California, 2016 or something like that. I had a friend there that I was talking to for a while, and he kept sending me throughout the years, he kept sending me the pictures of this legal wall that he had behind businesses on an abandoned train track spot. And we get to the wall, and it's all good, we're painting, and we take lunch, bring back some, you know, a 24-pack of Modelos, we got our spray paint set out, we're just having a good time. He told me stories that, you know, a sheriff would pass by and they will tell him, this is all good, everything's, we have permission from the owner. And so we weren't worrying about nothing, and this time there were like 2 rookie cops were passing by, and they saw us. And they decided to check all of us, and one of my friends had I guess a warrant for like not showing up to court for something. And these two police officers decided to lock all three of us up. And this was like the first day in LA. We spent the Saturday, Sunday at a sheriff's office in a cell together. And then we go to the county jail in LA. And on the way to county jail in downtown LA, I'm riding in this bus and there's gang graffiti everywhere. I'm chained up. It's like a movie, pretty much. I don't know which movie it is, but I'm in a movie. I'm in some type of movie. And I get up, and in order to look outside, there's no windows in the bus. There's little holes. If you get up, you can look through a little hole, just like little ventilation holes. Both of my friends are from Mexico, or Mexican, born in California. And I get a different public defender because I'm different. And my case says I have a crazy public defender. This guy has a license plate that says RAD law, for radical law. And he was, a hippie from the 80s that decided to help people in tight pickle situations like this. And he pretty much helped me beat the case and get my case dismissed, because when I went to see the judge, I told the judge, I'm an artist from New Jersey, I work with kids. Obviously at the time I was working with high school students, and I'm also doing something this summer as well too. And I'm working with kids, like I do murals, like I'm an asset to my neighborhood. And I'm an artist, and we were painting a mural. We weren't vandalizing the wall. There was a miscommunication with the police officers because they didn't want to hear it. They're just doing whatever they wanted to do. Pretty much an illegal arrest. So my case gets dropped automatically because it's a similar case with my friends. Their case gets dropped, and we go out and we go get some tacos together.